Hi guys, so I have done some videos on the Godfather and a few other little easy 2-ingredient cocktails. If you haven't seen that yet, then definitely check it out here. But one that I was entirely remiss to not include was the Rusty Nail. Being Scottish, very much sort of part of our identity. So you've got the Drambuie, which is a Scottish whiskey liqueur flavored with like honey. So really leans into that Highland honey heather sort of flavor profile. And then it is usually just with a Scottish blended whiskey. Now, the one thing I will say about the classic recipe for this, which is just equal parts, is it is quite sweet. It's obviously meant to be an after dinner liqueur. It kind of became popularized in the 1960s. Apparently some of the Rat Pack really enjoyed drinking them, you know, so it is what it is. It was a certain time, certain place, certain palate. I would say for nowadays, if somebody handed you sort of that classic iteration, you would probably find it a little bit more on the liqueur side of things. So normally now it would be switched up to 2-to-1. So 2 parts whiskey to 1 part liqueur. And then I actually thought I would take it a little bit further and use this Australian whiskey. It's called a double malt. So it's from Archie Rose up in Sydney. And what they're doing is using malted barley, but blended with malted rye whiskey. So you get like all of that kind of like spice and a bit more savory notes from the rye, as well as having that kind of malted barley component. So I guess instead of a more neutral grain spirit, blending with the malted barley whiskey, you are getting the malted rye instead, so packs a bit more of a flavor punch, and I find stands up quite nicely to your Drambuie. Obviously it might not, Archie Rose is available in the States, so you might be able to get it, but not everyone might be able to get their hands on it, in which case just try and use like a nice kind of fuller bodied blended whiskey that isn't too sweet. So something with a little bit of smoke or just something to cut through that sweetness is ideal. So we're gonna go in with 40 mils of this, 20 mils of your Drambuie. Apparently Drambuie means the drink that satisfies in Gaelic. Now I don't speak Gaelic, so I can't actually confirm or deny that, but it's quite a cute thing if it's true. And then I'm also gonna do a dash or 2 of orange bitters. Absolutely not necessary, but again, just sort of lifts it all and brings out the flavors in the Drambuie. Then we're gonna add in some ice and give it a stir. So this is kind of how I adjust things to my own palate when I'm making things at home. Obviously, if someone just ordered a Rusty Nail, I'd make it a bit more similar to the classic recipe, or sort of check with them if they were happy for me to play around with it. Yum. So we're just gonna strain this over a couple of big ice blocks. Then we're just gonna do a little spritz of lemon over the top, and then I just discard it. It's kind of meant to be more of a simple drink, so we'll just leave it as is there. But yeah, I mean, that's light and bright. It's kind of like a honey heather old fashioned, has like all the nice spice coming through from the liqueur and the bitters and a little bit from the rye whiskey. I reckon that's a bit of a leveled up Rusty Nail, but obviously, you know, you have to work with a good template to begin with to make something delicious. So Rusty Nail. So now you know.